Hi, my name is Sheldon, and today I'll be going over Teen Rebellion in the 1950s. Teen Rebellion is seen as a rite of passage for teens today. To go and break the rules set by our parents is a norm now. It seems like it's been around for forever, but it was actually a new trend in the 1950s, shortly after World War II ended. The history leading up to and during 1950. So World War II ended in 1945, and shortly after the baby boom began. There was a spread of fear of communism around America. They were afraid that communism would spread not only to America, but also to other nations and countries around the world. This was called the Red Scare. And it really motivated a lot of Americans to keep their America sacred from it, the communism. The Korean War began in 1950 and ended 3 years later. 2 years after that, in 1955, the Vietnam War began, and the Space War began 2 years later after that, when the Soviet Union launched its first missile into space. During this time, our 34th president, Dwight Eisenhower, was in office. So what led to Teen Rebellion? I've narrowed it down to these three main topics. The movies these teens watched, the music they listened to, and their sense of and want of independence from their parents. So movies. According to hangingout.com, depictions of these rebels led teens to want to be like the teens they see in the movies. Many teens began to imitate the actors they saw in the movies. Actors like James Dean and Marlon Brando could be seen smoking, staying out late, partying, driving fast cars, and having sexual relationships with their peers, all of which was new and just not a part of the social norm before this teen rebellion. Many parents attempted to stop their children from acting like the movies they saw or even watching these movies, but it only caused them to rebel more. Girls began to wear pants in a more casual way. And when I say casual, I mean like compared to their mothers who wore pants and when they worked in the factories during World War II to not get their clothes snagged on the machines. The teen girls of this teen rebellion used pants as a fashion statement. And slowly their dresses and long skirts began to become shorter over the decade. Boys gelled their hair up and wore leather jackets. Two good movies that really depict this is Rebel Without a Cause and Grease, both of which depict this teen rebellion during the 1950s. So their music, the teens listened to. So according to Ohio State Press Book, rock and roll was a new and big craze for the teens, and they used it as a way to get away from their parents' music. And most parents were against this new music simply because it was started by African Americans. And many teens used that against their parents as a form of rebellion. You have rock and roll artists like Big Joe Turner and the Coasters who were African American, and many teens bought their music. Also, you could see Elvis Presley and Bill Haley on TV dancing their new dance moves to this new genre. And the parents did not approve of these dance moves either, because dance moves like the boogie woogie, the bop, and the rock and roll, and many more included close dancing and a lot of hip swinging with a partner at a fast pace. And it kind of scared a lot of parents that their teens were doing such dance moves and in such close proximity with another person, usually the opposite sex. So their independence. With this newfound genre and rebellion, many teens felt the generation gap between them and their parents. And this generation gap allowed them to feel independent from their parents, like they were different and they weren't the same as their parents, and their parents wouldn't understand them, rebellion. And with this, many teens started having relationships, like sexual relationships, which was actually a social change at the time. It's as common as it may be today. It wasn't common then for teens to date, let alone have sexual relationships with the people they do date. So it really, a lot of parents had to adjust because these teens weren't going to change, and they were just going to rubble more with if they didn't get what they wanted. According to Lisa Wiseman's article, The Teenage Attitude of the 1950s, she attributed the rebellion to the lack of parental involvement and guidance during World War II, where their fathers were away at war and the mothers were in the workforce working long shift hours to make ends meet at home and give effort to the war cause. And the children were left to fend for themselves. And Wiseman believed that this was the reason why many teenagers already felt dependent or independent as children and grew up into this teen rebellion of independence when their parents came back and tried to be the parental guidance that they no longer needed. So this rebellion, the first signs of it were in 1950. Before then, children would abide by their parents' rules and did what they were told. This new trend continues even now, and it has set sort of a standard for adolescents when they feel unheard and need an outcry, or just simply don't want to abide by their parents' rules anymore and need a change in life. It's not too uncommon, and it happens all the time now. Thank you.